You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 104. Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life.
Hello there and welcome. We are so happy to have you here today. We hope that this episode finds you safe and well. What's going on in the world right now is pretty wild and it's bringing up roller coasters of emotions for many of us. So we just want you to know that we care for you. We hope that you're doing as well as possible given the situation, and we hope that you're giving yourself grace as you navigate all these big changes in education. So we are in a situation right now where education has been completely shaken up. Completely. We are in a remote teaching and learning situation, many of us, and that is totally shifting what being a teacher means. So we're really in a phase here at EduCalm where we're really reflecting a lot on what does it mean to be a teacher right now? What does it mean? What is our role in our students' lives? How can we support them in being resilient during these times? And really, what's important in education? What's the most important thing? So we're so excited to share this interview with you today, where we have Mike Huebner from The Credible Teacher on the show. He talks all about what it means to be a credible teacher. He talks about the importance of teacher credibility in student learning and what we can do to be perceived as credible by our students, how we can create deeper connections with our students so that they are more ready to learn from us, so that they feel more comfortable learning from us. This is a really great conversation that we're so excited to share with you, especially during these times where everything's getting flipped upside down. Recently, Josiane and I have had so many conversations just talking about how curious we are to see how education is going to change when we get to the other side of this, what shifts are going to happen and how the world of education is going to look after this. We think there's probably going to be some big, exciting changes. And, when something big happens like this, you tend to shake away the excess of what wasn't the most important and really focus on what's truly important. So we're excited to see how this makes us stronger and brings us together. All right, before we get into this week's episode, very excited to share our sponsor with you today, which is Zero Waste Movement. Zero Waste Movement makes it easy for you to live a more sustainable lifestyle. They sell eco-friendly, sustainable products to help you reduce your use of single-use and plastic items and replace them with beautifully and durably made alternatives. I am in love with their beeswax wraps. Ooh, that's kind of a tongue twister. Beeswax wraps. If you've never used beeswax wraps before, you have to try them out. They are a really great replacement for that plastic cling wrap or saran wrap. Zero Waste Movement's wraps are 100% natural and made with beeswax, jojoba oil, and tree resin. So these colorful wraps come in 3 different sizes and they have this beautiful pattern. They're perfect for covering leftover food, fruits, and veggies. So you use the heat of your hands to soften the wax wraps, and then you place them around bread, cheese, bowls, cups, really anything. They are awesome. Another thing that I love from the Zero Waste Movement shop is their reusable Ziploc bags. So instead of using a Ziploc bag once and then throwing it in the garbage and then it's going to be in the landfill forever, they have these durable, reusable Ziploc bags that you can wash and reuse and use to freeze things and use in any way that you would normally use a Ziploc bag. So great. They have a bunch of other products that I'm obsessed with too, but I would end up filling up this whole episode if I talked about them all. So you're going to have to go check out their great eco-friendly products yourself. Go to zerowastemvmt.com and use the code EDUCALM to get 15% off your order. So that's Zero Waste MVMT. So like zero waste movement without any vowels in the movement. zerowastemvmt.com and use the code EDUCALM to get 15% off your order. All right, let's go to today's interview. Hello there, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So we're really excited to have you here. Can you tell our audience about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been teaching. This is my 10th year teaching, middle school, 6th grade specifically. Currently language arts, and yeah, I'm into meditation. Been doing that for over 5 years now. And I'm really interested in teacher credibility. And that's kind of what I've been sharing the last couple of years and reflecting on with my podcast too.
Awesome. What's your podcast called so that our listeners could listen to it later if they want to continue learning from you?
Yeah, it's called The Credible Teacher Podcast. You can find it on, I think, 11 different platforms now. And I just reflect on a lot of stuff, but mainly teacher credibility. So
awesome. So we have never talked about teacher credibility on the Balanced Educator podcast yet. So we're really excited to have you on to share your perspective on this. What is teacher credibility and why is it important?
Right. Okay. So this is the exact question that I'm trying to answer myself. I feel like this is what got me into it. You're like, what does this mean? And just kind of give a backstory of how it started, if I may. I was going through this reflective period of my life a couple of years ago. I follow this guy on social media called Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V. And he's super obnoxious to begin with, which he knows. He says you won't like him. But one of the things I've really taken to him, and one of the things he shared was just find your strength and do that. Because as humans, we have so much we are not good at. So why don't we just focus on our strength and do that more? And so a couple summers ago, I was reflecting, like, what am I good at? What can I share? What am I like? What's my strength? And I had this epiphany, like, I am a credible teacher, but what does that really mean? And so I was at a staff meeting 4 or 5 years ago now, and we got it's called forget it right now, but it's the visible learning from John Hattie. He did all this research about why and how students are successful in schools. And he has all of the influences with their effect sizes next to him. And there's like 112. Now there's 256 or something crazy. But teacher credibility on that at that point in time was number 4 on the list. And that stuck in the back of my mind, like, wow, what is that? Like how a student views a teacher. And so I did some research and I figured, like, why couldn't I be the expert or someone that reflects on what teacher credibility is? Because I Googled, searched it, and there was like 3 blogs on what teacher credibility was. Like nothing was written on it. Nobody was talking about it. And I'm like, well, why can't I do it? And so I've over the last couple of years, I've looked into research, and there's over 30 years of research on what it means to be a credible teacher, one that's viewed as trustworthy, as having goodwill, as competent, as dynamic, and all of it's connected to student success. And it's all based on how the student perceives the teacher. And to me, that's what teacher credibility is. It's at the very basic and I'm still learning about it, obviously. It's how a student perceives the teacher, and if they are perceived as trusted, having goodwill, all of the positives that we think about when we reflect on the greatest teachers we've had.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, as you've been looking into this subject of teacher credibility, what's been really standing out for you as things that us as teachers need to embody in order to be viewed as credible by our students?
I think this is borderline cliche depending on your perspective, but to me, it comes down to, at the very basic, right? Like the very, very basic level, to me, it's being as human as possible. And by that, I mean, as teachers, we grew up in a society, depending on where you're at. I think maybe this worldwide. I don't know if it's worldwide, but we have this image in our head of what a teacher is supposed to embody. And a lot of times they are the enforcers of rules, expectations, and standards, etc. And I'm guilty of this, we lose sight of the fact that they are just other human beings that have a job that requires them to, be a certain authoritarian figure in some way, shape, or form. Okay. And so for me, based on what I found, it's being as human as possible. And there comes the vulnerability, being able to show who you are as a human and having the same qualities as all the students that you have in your class, but yet having this job that requires you to be the leader in the classroom at the same time. So it's this really, balanced position and hard position for teachers, because we have a job to do, but yet we are human just like our students. And so to me, the biggest takeaway is, how do we as educators become more human, become more vulnerable? Because from my perspective, what I've experienced, the more vulnerable I become, the more human my students see me, and therefore I become viewed as more credible.
So if you're practicing this in your classroom and saying, okay, I'm going to try to be more vulnerable, more authentic with my students, what types of things are you doing to be more vulnerable? Because there is a line that we have to we have to stay on one side of the line, where we have to make sure we're not sharing too much with our students, but sharing just enough. And I'd love to know, in your practice and what you've been doing in your classroom, kind of what are some specific things you're doing to be more vulnerable while still being the presence of a certain amount of authority in the classroom?
I think for me, it's been being as open and honest and telling stories. Like two things. Like number one, I think, is telling stories. The response that I've gotten from students over the years is they appreciate the stories that I tell, and the stories are connected to, and I do my best to weave them into the curriculum that I'm teaching. So right now it's language arts. And there's so many opportunities for me to bring in stories of things that I've experienced as a young person, and how I viewed myself or how I viewed the world when I was 11 and 12 years old, that automatically helps me connect with the students that are sitting in the seats in my room. Like, we have this shared human experience. And for me, it really comes back to empathy, like trying my best. And this is where mindfulness and meditation comes into play, because, empathy is really hard for humans. If we were good at it, we wouldn't see all of the stuff that we see on a daily basis happening around the world. So it's hard. But for me, it's empathy, and then sharing that perspective with students through stories, right? I mean, stories are what make us human. There's so much research about how, when we tell stories, we have these neurons. Like when I'm sharing a story, I read this in Zaretta Hammond's book. I can't remember what it's called right now. It'll come to me in a second. But there's the research about telling stories is when I'm sharing a story, the neurons that are firing in my brain when I'm sharing the story are the same, or the same parts of my brain that are being active are active in the listeners. And so it's this evolutionarily like unbelievable situation where what I'm sharing is also being felt in the listener. And so we learn through each other by sharing our stories. This has been happening for millennia, right? And so for me, that was a big light bulb moment when I read that. I was like, oh, this is how I'm becoming a more credible teacher. And so to answer your question specifically, being as vulnerable as you can and sharing it through stories. My current thought on this is that teachers, and this is what I was guilty of, teachers currently think that what they want to share is too much. And I think a majority of the time they would be surprised if they shared that, because, like, yes, there is a line. We all know there's a line, But I don't think most teachers are even approaching that line because of all of the stuff that we have to do on a daily basis, curriculum, everything else that we do as teachers in the classroom, that is taking away the opportunities for us to share stories. So to me, it's pushing that line. It's starting the process of telling the stories, because right now I don't think many teachers are telling any of them. And I think that's one of the first ways that we can become more credible.
That's great. So really, what I'm hearing from you is the importance of making a connection with our students. And if we want our students to open up to us, we have to open up to them to a certain extent as well. I actually just did an interview yesterday with Janelle Gagne. She's a teacher that uses our program, and she talked a lot about how she's been learning to open up to her students, and she's found that has really actually increased the academics in her classroom, just the rate at which students are learning because of that connection that's being created. So clearly that is linked to credibility. If your students feel connected to you, then they feel that you are a credible source of information and that your opinion matters because you care enough to connect with them. So interesting, whenever I go into, this year I've been subbing, and the first questions I get are always about me. Like, my students will come up to me, and especially the young ones, like, "Hi, what's your name? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat?" Like, they just want to know all about me. And I think that what you're sharing here is that, yeah, open up and create that connection with students. That's really great.
Absolutely.
So what would be another thing that would be important in terms of being a credible teacher, other than being a little bit more vulnerable and more human with your students?
I think this is where this conversation, because I'm guilty of this too, is that we as teachers and humans, we want the life hack that is going to solve this thing, right? Like we want the quick fix that's going to cause something positive to happen. We want this thing that is going to create our students to be engaged with what we're sharing and doing. But to me, the more I reflect on teacher credibility and what's been working for me as I grow and evolve and change, is it's all mindset, really. So it's not a quick fix. It's a mindset of, this is where I'm at, and I'm going to continue to grow and evolve and change. And that's the same thing that's happening to my students, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a different person than I was at 11, 12 years old. And I will be a different person as I grow and evolve and change when I'm 54, right? I'm 37 right now. And that mindset for me has really helped me kind of connect with where my students are at, and the fact that we are all growing, evolving, and changing all of the time. And so, besides telling stories and being vulnerable, being open and honest, to me, it's all a mindset that who I am right now is perfect the way I am, because this is how I'm currently perceiving the world. And how I perceive the world in 10 years from now is inevitably going to change, because I'm going to have new experiences. And that mindset, for me, working with young people, has helped me, because they're not making decisions that they're taking it out on me. They're just making decisions based on how they perceive the world. So for me, it's a mindset. And the other thing I would add to that is the work that we need to do to become more credible people to our students and everybody around us, honestly, is inside work. Like who we are in the inside. There's a meditation saying, if we don't go within, we go without. I think maybe Ram Dass said that. I can't remember right now, but if we don't go within, we go without. Like, everything that we experience on the outside starts from within, and how I'm being perceived by my students. And I think this is the big epiphany that I've had here so far with the whole teacher credibility, is that how I perceive myself is how my students perceive me. If I perceive myself as a loving, kind, accepting person, then my students are going to perceive me this way, because I truly feel that way about myself, right? And so, again, we all want this life hack that's going to get us this X, Y, or Z experience. But the reality is this whole thing like life, is a process. And if I don't accept the fact that this is a process, then I'm always going to be searching for this thing that's going to give me like happiness or acceptance. And in reality, it's all just going within and creating that for ourselves.
I love that. Could you give us some examples of what you do in your personal practice to go within and to recognize how you're viewing yourself, and notice that mirror of how you're noticing your students interact with you?
Well, for me, it's been, meditation has like completely changed. And I get emotional talking about it because, gosh, I sound so corny, but this is who I am. Meditation has completely changed how I live my life. And I appreciate, I'm so grateful that I started the practice because it has helped me in so many facets of my life. And one of the most beautiful things that has happened is that I'm able to understand or view the way my mind is working on a more of a moment to moment basis, right? Like if I'm being judgmental, I'm aware of the fact that I'm judgmental, right? Like I have a lot of work to do because I'm human. This is the human experience. We need to be able to judge. It is built in evolutionarily. So like if there was a tiger outside of our, hut, whatever, like we had to be able to judge. I'm not going to go out there because I could get killed by this tiger. So it's like we have this built in system that's going to protect us. But where we are currently, that judgment is getting in the way of like living our best life, right? And so meditation and mindfulness has allowed me to become more aware of these thoughts that I'm having on a moment to moment basis. Like I said earlier, I have work to do because I'm human, like I'm working on it. But over the last 5 years, because I've been able to be more aware of what's happening right now in this moment, I'm able to not succumb to fear as quickly, not react to student behavior, but rather respond to it, right? Like this is, and this is a cliche saying in meditation, in the meditation world. It's we want to respond versus react. And I couldn't agree with that. I could not agree with that, more. It's in the classroom, my ability to respond versus react and come to situations with empathy and honesty and forgiveness and acceptance has been happening way more now after the 5 years of me, having a practice. And that's where I've been at. And that's why I talk about meditation with such reverence, because it's been such a life changer for me.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I completely relate to your story because, mindfulness and meditation, once I started meditating daily, my whole world changed. And the number one thing is, I became less reactive. I gained this space of being able to watch my thoughts and watch my emotions and then decide, am I just reacting from my ego or am I seeing this situation truly? And it actually gives me this space to look at the situation from the other person's perspective. It's almost like, when I'm in the classroom and a student has a big reaction, some sort of behavior that in the past I would have just deemed as this is unacceptable. We can't act this way. I first can see, okay, why are they acting this way? What's going on for them? What are they feeling and perceiving that's causing their reaction? So instead of meeting their reaction with a reaction, it's like I can soften the situation immediately by just taking that time to have empathy and compassion first, and then move forward with the teaching about how to choose a better or make a better choice in that situation. Now, what do you do? So lots of our listeners do have a meditation practice, but some are still, figuring out what that looks like for them. What does your meditation practice look like, just out of curiosity?
Yeah. Right now, I'm ebbing and flowing. So I went to, do you know who Sadhguru is?
No, I don't.
Okay. Sadhguru. He's from India. He's a mystic / yogi. I went to see him out in Philadelphia in April, and which a program called Inner Engineering, and you kind of get initiated into this new meditation. He teaches you this meditation. It's just 21-minute ish, and so you're supposed to do that twice a day for so many days, and then for 6 months, once a day. And so I just got done with that process, and I use that. So I mean, I highly recommend people looking him up, because he's apparently enlightened, whatever that means. But he's got so many great resources on YouTube, wherever you can find him, that, and again, perspective, he changes your perspective on a lot of things. But right now, currently, so I meditate every morning when I get up for at least 20 minutes. And right now and lately I've been doing metta. I went to a Sharon Salzberg meditation retreat a couple of years ago, and I learned how to do metta. And it's basically, and just for people that maybe are not aware, you kind of send energy or positive thoughts, I should say, to yourself, like, may I be safe, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. And so I repeat that to myself. And then what you do is, there's a process where you go through, you start with yourself, then you find somebody that I can't remember the word, but somebody you basically love really much, has been like had a huge impact in your life. And then you go to a friend, and then somebody that's neutral, and then you go to somebody that you've kind of struggled with, and then I go to everybody everywhere. And then I do that for about 20 minutes. And the research that's been done on metta is really great. And if you listen to the 10% Happier podcast, what's his name? The guy that runs that? Dan
Harris. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Harris. He was referencing research that University out east did, and they put microphones on people that were doing metta, and they found that people that were practicing metta meditation said the word I less than people that didn't. So you start not focusing on yourself. It's kind of a weird thing, like I remember from the podcast, but I've noticed that this meditation has helped me become like more empathetic, more loving, kind to myself, but also other people too. So I ebb and flow between different things, but basically I do every day at least 20 minutes, and sometimes it's just breath work. It's just focusing on my breath, and so that's where I'm at right now.
That's great. So for those listening that are thinking of starting a meditation practice, I would suggest seeking out a teacher, as you have done. You kind of chose a teacher that you've followed their methods first, and then you start mixing it up and finding new teachers and new types of meditation to keep it kind of fresh and interesting, so that it's a practice you want to keep coming back to. So that's really helpful. And for those listening as well, metta meditation oftentimes is called loving kindness meditation.
There you go.
And we also have actually a whole unit in EduCalm Classroom, our online mindfulness program for schools, called Kindness and Compassion. And within that unit, we do this metta style where one day we're practicing sending kind thoughts to ourselves. And then the next day, the next meditation, we're sending kind thoughts to someone that we're close to. And then we move on to sending kind thoughts to someone that we have a neutral relationship and then a difficult relationship with, and then sending kind thoughts to the world. And we've had some really great feedback from teachers that have used this in their classroom, where they've just said it's really transformed their students and helped to create just this really kind and caring community in the classroom. So that's cool that I hadn't heard of that research that had been done with the microphones. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it makes total sense.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. So, we've talked a little bit about your own personal practice. Are you bringing any of that meditation into the classroom with your students, either formally or informally?
Unfortunately, not as much as I want to. I have a singing bowl, Tibetan singing bowl, that I've been using to gain student attention versus saying, clap 5 times if you hear my voice, stuff like that. And I purchased that probably 4 years ago now. And I use that to gain attention, but I'll also use that as a way to just do some basic breathing. So I'll hit the bowl, and I'll have students count in for 4, hold their breath for 4, count, exhale for 4 seconds. And I'll do that every once in a while when I feel like it's needed in the classroom. But yeah, I don't do it as much as I should or could or want to in the classroom right now.
It's all a journey. And
Right.
I started the same way that you started, just a little bit here and there, until over the years, I came to a point where I was ready to do it daily. So where you are is perfect, and the journey continues. And I'm sure just the fact that you're practicing, and as you've said, the fact that you're practicing meditation in your own life and you're bringing that mindfulness into your classroom, your students are observing your mindful behavior and they're learning from that. And your reduced reactivity is reducing their reactivity as well. So, it has to really start with the teacher, and then those principles and those actions are brought into the classroom. So that's great. So to end our chat today, I'd love to know, for us as teachers that are looking to be a credible teacher in our classroom, and maybe we want to up our game a little bit, how would you suggest that we can have a deeper impact on our students as teachers? We have so much academics going on in the classroom, and of course that's so important. But really we want to have our students leave our classrooms equipped to go into their lives and succeed. So what would be your suggestion for a teacher that really wants to have a deep impact on their students?
Oh man, that's a big question, a good question and a needed question. For me, I've been finding the small moments throughout the day to connect with kids has made a big difference. So something I started at the end of last year, which, you see this stuff online. It's like, you could do this or that. And, one of the things I saw was, entering, as the students enter your classroom every day, saying hi, fist bump, something. And so last year I started this in the 2 classrooms that I'm right next to and out in front of the one that I'm in. Every morning I'll go out there, I'll give a fist bump to everybody coming in, and I'll say, hey, good morning, I'm glad you're here today. Like, I say that to every student every morning. And the impact, it's such a simple thing to do, but I've found that it's a way to make this minor little connection, but it builds on one another, and the students start to expect that. And it's all, I've realized that it's these little moments that create the community, right? Like, one of the things that I've really been reflecting on a lot lately, or over the last couple of years, is this invisible thing that we create throughout an entire school year. That's called community, right? Like, at the end of the year, first of all, we come into the school year and we don't know anybody. We're complete strangers for the most time as a teacher to our students. And then by the end of the year, at least in my situations, I am sad, but also joyful, right? Like that we've had this experience, but students are sad. Like, we are all feeling sad that the school year is going to come to an end. And what have we done? What have we created? We haven't, like, why are we feeling this way? And as I reflect on that, what we've really created is community. And it's not something that we can take with us. It's not a trophy that we can put on in our bedroom. It's not a medal that we can wear around our neck. It's not something that we can put in our desk, or, like, this is this invisible thing that we've created all together throughout all 190 whatever days that we are together. And this is what we will remember from this year, right? Like, this is what we have to take with us. And so having that mindset has been really beneficial, because then the little moments that we experience together, where it's walking by and say, hey, did you get a haircut? Like, I've been way better about observing. And this is the other thing about meditation. I'm so much more observant of everything around me. Like, I can pick out students that have had a haircut, like, almost the morning of, and they're always shocked, like, oh my gosh, how did you know? Right? Like, it's just the little things like that. Like, hey, nice haircut. You look sharp, whatever. Like, it's walking by and saying, I love that shirt today. Like, it's the little moments along with these bigger moments, these stories where are vulnerable and you share, when you were 11 and 12 years old, how you viewed life and how, all that you were worried about when I was your age was the girl that didn't like me. Right. Like I and the kids always joke at that, but like, these are little things that build this connection that we are all, wanting so bad as humans. We want this connection. We need this connection. And as a teacher, we have to, in my opinion, we have to allow ourselves to go there so this connection can be made. If we don't start it, because we are in this authoritative, powerful position in the classroom, whether we want it or not, if we don't start that process, it's not going to happen, right? Like, for the most part. So being aware as a teacher that I have this capability to start this connection is so powerful, because then we'll actually do it. Whether it's, saying high five, giving fist bumps, telling students we're grateful that they're here today, the little comments, appreciating them. Yesterday, it was before Thanksgiving break here, and I told them that I'm thankful and grateful that they're here, and as a student, so that I have the opportunity to be a teacher, because without students, there are no teachers, right? Without teachers, there are no students. So it's, again, this mindset of this experience that I'm having as a teacher, which I am very passionate about. I enjoy and value this experience that I'm having as a teacher, but I could not have that without students. And for me, again, it goes back to mindset. If you have this type of mindset where you are grateful for the opportunity, you are looking for connection, you are starting the process, and you are initiating these things, everything else just falls into place. You'll start to make connections where you otherwise might not have. And that all leads to this greater impact that we want to have. Because I truly believe that teachers we all know, right? Teachers go into it because they're passionate about helping young people in some way, shape, or form, right? But when we get into it, we are overcome with all of the stuff that we need to be doing and should be doing, have to be doing. Society says this, we got to do this, we got to do more of this, we got to create learners that are like this. That is never going to go away. Like, in my opinion, that's just never going to go away. But what is going to always remain the same is our ability as teachers to have this impact that we always wanted to have, right? So we have to be mindful about the position that we're in and create the opportunities, because we're working on our own legacy as we teach too, right? Like, there's a greater purpose for why we became educators. Like, there's a greater purpose for this. It's not solely to just teach kids how to add and subtract, right? Like, there's a greater purpose for this experience that we're having, not only as humans, but also as educators specifically. Like, we are in each other. I truly believe we are in each other's paths for a reason, right? And so for me, it's all mindset. And to order to have that mindset and to make this impact, we have got to go within. We have got to work on ourselves, because we cannot help anybody if we don't help ourselves first. The cliche saying, and I'll end with this, but the cliche saying is, you can't pour from an empty cup. And from my experience, it's absolutely been true, because the more quote unquote selfish I've been in my life, the greater that I've been able to treat other people, because I love myself now, and now I can love other people.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I think we will end there, because I've got all the warm and fuzzies and I'm feeling excited to get back into the classroom. Thank you so much for being here with us today. What's the best way for our audience to connect with you?
So I have a website, thecredibleteacher.com, which, it's like, I'm just doing this by myself. So it's a decent website, but the other way to find me, I think most people are on social media. I'm on all the big ones: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I just started a TikTok account a couple weeks ago, and it's been funny to learn, because all young people are on that right now. It's a relatively new app, and it's kind of crazy. Some of the things I posted have been one of them went viral, which is so funny. Anyway, so that's a place that I'm on, but and obviously my podcast too, the Credible Teacher podcast, and Mike at thecredibleteacher.com too, if there's an email. So if you Google it, I'm there. So
perfect. And we'll put all of those links in our show notes as well at educalm.com. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for doing what you're doing, because you guys are, filling a space that is absolutely needed in not only schools but the world of young people becoming more mindful, so we can enjoy this thing called life a little bit more. So, thank you.
Oh, thanks. All right. I hope you enjoyed listening to that interview with Mike as much as I enjoyed recording it and chatting with him. So ever since schools have closed and we've shifted to remote teaching and learning, we've been getting a ton of questions from you guys on how to be there for our students during these times of heightened anxiety, worry, and stress without being physically in the same space as them. So how can we address their social emotional needs during this time where we're physically separate? As teachers, we're currently facing the reality of remote teaching and learning just when students need tools and strategies to manage their emotions the most. So navigating all of this can feel so overwhelming. To make this transition a bit easier for you, we have created a free online training where we teach you exactly how to continue helping your students face life's challenges from a distance, but thankfully without having to lift a finger. So we've created this online workshop for you. In the workshop, you're going to learn how to support your students in their social emotional learning through mindfulness remotely. And you're going to learn how to use our free, complete, and ready to use social emotional learning program for remote teaching and learning. Plus, you're going to receive an email template and a tutorial video that you can send to parents with instructions on how to use the Educalm Classroom free trial at home. Plus, we've created a never shared before writing activity in English and in French that you can assign to your students to support them with both SEL and writing. So it doesn't stop there. We're also going to be sharing a flower petal breathing poster for spring, a 5-finger breathing poster. And if you're not sure what we mean about this flower petal breathing and 5-finger breathing, you'll learn about it in the workshop. This workshop is meant to be practical and it's meant to make your life easier. So basically in the workshop, all we're doing is teaching you how to do social emotional learning with your students without having to create any content because we've done it all for you. So learn how to continue to help your students through their ups and downs from a distance by signing up for our free online training. So you can do this by going to our show notes. So you can find that at educalm.com/TBE as in the Balanced Educator 104. So that's educalm.com, educalme.com/TBE 104. Now, even easier, while you're in your podcast app, if you look at the show notes or the show description, you'll be able to click on that link right from there. So nice and easy. Definitely jump on to that online training. You can do it from whenever, wherever. So you can wear your jammies, do it on the couch, find a time that fits your schedule, and get a lot of free resources that you can easily use to support your students during this emotional time from a distance. All right. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us. We really appreciate you and this amazing, supportive, uplifting community that we're all building together. We wish you well. We hope that you are safe and healthy and sharing all of our love with you. Have a great week.